Okay, so hello, everybody. I don't have to run through the whole script anymore. I would like to know, though, if Cindy, do we have any public participation tonight?
You have one person as an attendee. I don't know if that person is looking to speak or not. There's no hand raised.
Does that person want to introduce him or her? Oh, it's Carrie. Could you let Carrie in, please?
Then in that case, Tina, you do not currently have any people looking to talk or any attendees besides the panelists.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Let us do a quick roll call, please. Oh my God. Okay. Just to reiterate, Nate is not with us tonight. Neither is Belinda nor Katie. As far as those are the three that I know of. Okay, roll call. Cynthia,
here.
When I call your name, please acknowledge.
Here.
Amelia.
Here.
Finn.
Here.
Lisa.
Here.
Bud.
Here.
Jen.
Here.
Emmy.
Here.
Marlene.
Here.
Carrie.
Here.
No, okay, and Tina is here. The first thing on the agenda is approval of the minutes from September. I know that was a while ago. Does anybody have any comments, questions, or modifications that need to be made? Thank you, Marlene, for taking the notes. Nothing. Okay, so I can't remember. Do we need a motion to approve the minutes?
Yes.
Okay, so I need a motion to approve the minutes.
I motion to approve the September 2022 minutes.
And could I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you. Cynthia?
Abstain because I missed the first half hour.
Okay. Amelia?
Yes.
Finn?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Bud?
He's not here anymore.
And he wasn't here then either.
Okay. Jen?
Yes.
Emmy?
Yes.
Marlene?
Yes.
Carrie?
I wasn't here.
And I abstain as well because I was not present for that meeting.
Oh, Renaz isn't here. That's who's missing.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, her son has a performance tonight.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So do we have enough yeses to approve the meeting minutes?
Let me see.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
6.
So if we have 7, that's enough. It's
Yeah.
a simple majority, right?
Okay, good.
Okay, so meeting minutes.
The reason I disappeared was I switched to my computer from my phone.
Okay. Meeting minutes from September 15th, 2022 have been approved. Thank you again. Thank you guys for being flexible on this meeting format. I reverted to Zoom because not everybody will wear a mask if we meet in person. So given that we all have different comfort levels with that, we have 3 options. We can either meet in person, but again, not everybody will wear a mask. We can try to find a larger room in town hall, but it's not going to be that big, huge room in upstairs. So there's still going to be some limitation there. We could continue to meet via Zoom only, and I believe that has been extended through April of next year. Or we could do a combination of the two. I talked to Katie about a hybrid option where a couple of the conference rooms in town hall have an OWL camera, so she could facilitate that. it's mildly clunky, but they have done hybrid meetings, quite a few
We
of
do
them.
we do our Needham Tech, we do our technology advisory board meetings that way, actually.
So that is also an option. I obviously want to get feedback from everybody to see what you guys want to do going forward, at least through April, and then we'll have to sort of revisit depending on, you know, what the mandate is at that time. Marlene.
If we all decide we want to meet in person and we would all be masked, are there some people you're saying who refuse to mask?
That is correct.
Oh, okay.
That's why I jumped to Zoom tonight, because I didn't want to put anybody on the spot or make anybody feel uncomfortable at the last minute.
I didn't understand. Okay.
Yeah, so not everybody will wear a mask. Cynthia, I think you're muted.
What room was possible that's not the huge upstairs, but something larger than the downstairs basement things that feel like you're breathing each other's air?
There was one other room that's a little bit larger than that, but I don't remember the name of the room. They're comparable in size.
Oh, okay.
Does anybody else have any thoughts or feedback or really strong preferences given the circumstances right now?
Bud has,
with hybrid with the owl would be good.
Bud has his hand up, Tina.
Okay, I'm sorry, Bud, yes.
No problem. I was going to say either hybrid or Zoom would be my preference.
Hybrid sounds like a great option. Oh, sorry, Carrie.
No, I'm sorry. I didn't raise my hand either. I'm just thinking if we do hybrid, the people who are in person, I would assume would not have to wear a mask because the people who are uncomfortable would be on Zoom. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would assume that's how that would work.
Not necessarily.
You could do it the other way, whereas those that don't want to wear a mask could choose the hybrid
Zoom option.
My experience with hybrid is not positive, because the people who are on the screen are kind of vying for time with the people who are in person. So I don't think that's a good option personally. I've been in meetings like that and it's not great. So I think if we can't meet in person, then I would vote for Zoom.
I don't want to put anyone on the spot or anything, but I'm just wondering if those who are uncomfortable. Oh, I am?
I can hear you.
No, she's okay.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, I'm just wondering if we do all meet in person, which seems like the most logical way, if those people who are uncomfortable are wearing masks, are they, again, I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but I would think that if you're uncomfortable and you're wearing a mask, you're protecting yourself. Would you be that uncomfortable at this stage with someone else not wearing a mask if you're a mask? I'm kind of wondering why we can't just meet in person and those who are comfortable wearing a mask, wear a mask, and those who don't. But maybe people are not comfortable with that.
Cynthia.
Hey, two things. First of all, hybrid can be awful, but I've had experiences where it's good. And if people know what they're doing, we're running the meeting, and if it's set up in a way that it's not just off in a corner that those are the people on, but that it's really a central part of the meeting, I think it can be done well. And at some point we might want to try that. About the wearing masks or not wearing masks, there's a whole lot of things other than masks, and that's what the ventilation is in the room. And many times I keep asking people at the town hall, what's the ventilation like in those little rooms? And that's almost as important as the mask. Then are people going to be disciplined about if they've been exposed or have symptoms or something, that they won't come in person to the meeting? So if we had hybrid and somebody had been exposed, they could just come on that way. I think hybrid gives more options, and I'm less squeamish about an hour-and-a-half meeting than I am 3 hours in a small room with unknown ventilation. They won't answer whenever I ask about that. But it is true, you look on CDC and other places, the best protection in terms of masking is when everybody does it. You still get quite a bit when you're just doing it yourself. And it's just if somebody is in a vulnerable group, i.e. old like me, or you have somebody's on chemotherapy, or a person sees a new infant, or there's all of these reasons that some people want to be really careful, in which case you say, well, they can stay on Zoom. If you have it hybrid, that allows people who are at a point in their life that they're okay with masking and not masking to be together in person.
Do other people have thoughts on this? Because if we go hybrid, then we have to decide. My feeling is so that it's we just have, this is sort of regimented. People who are not comfortable with unmasked, are you then staying home and Zooming in, or vice versa? So the issue is there is no more mask mandate, right? So I can't force anybody to wear a mask. I can't force anybody to wear a mask. So if we do this hybrid version, then we have to kind of take it a step further and figure out what the protocol is with that. And it sounds like some people have had good experiences with hybrid. You know, I've talked to Katie at length about it yesterday. I wanted to make sure before I brought this up to you guys. She has run several hybrid meetings. So from her experience, it's worked okay. It's mildly clunky, but it's okay. And the advantage with Zoom or hybrid is that we can record those meetings. If we're in person, fully in person, we lose this ability to record, right? So other things to consider. Jen, sorry.
I think my vote on this would be just to keep it all Zoom. I think if we have to kind of make a decision every time we have to meet, who's in, who's out, and kind of, I don't know, going along all of these complicated questions, I feel like it's not worth us having to keep having that stress every time we meet. And if people are not ready to be back in person, then maybe Zoom, just making that decision and not having to revisit it every month would be good. I also, I mean, I'm sure, you know, that Katie would do it for us if we asked her to, but it also seems like that having to do the hybrid puts a lot more work on the folks at town hall in order to accommodate us, and that doesn't feel like it's necessary.
Tina, Bud has his hand up. I know you can't see everybody.
Sorry. Yeah. Marlene, do you mind just monitoring that?
No, that's fine. Okay, Bud.
Okay. I agree with Jen. I mean, I think that we've all gotten used to Zoom. The ability for people to speak and be recognized, you know, just having everyone in the same place is a lot easier than trying to run a hybrid meeting. And I think I would vote for continuing on Zoom. And that way it wouldn't put anyone in an uncomfortable position, whether they're masked or not masked.
So I move that we make a decision. I move that we continue our meetings on Zoom as long as we are allowed.
I second that motion.
Okay, let's take a vote. Cynthia.
You're muted, Cynthia.
Cynthia, you're muted.
Yes.
Amelia.
Yes.
Ben.
Yes.
Lisa.
Yes.
Jen.
Yes.
Emmy.
Yes.
Marlene.
Yes.
Carrie.
Yes.
Bud.
Yes.
And I am a yes. Okay, so going forward until April, we will continue our monthly meetings via Zoom. And if we have to revisit that, depending on what gets handed down from the state, then we will revisit that in April. Okay, great. Thank you. I want to circle back on the subcommittee meeting we had regarding Anna. So a group of us met to talk about next steps after she presented in September. We left off, the action items were talk to town council about any potential legal issues that we were going to run into if we decided to continue moving forward with this, and then reach out to Anna to see what her goals were, what she's looking for in asking us for support and just overall presenting to HRC. So when I talked to Katie about it, she was not in the subcommittee meeting, but she did watch the video. She did say that there really, from her perspective, there are really no questions for town council. It was more about policy and process. And that's sort of where this discrimination complaint process comes in. So from her perspective, because we don't have a full process put in place yet, and there were conversations about trying to connect with, I'm sorry, I can't remember if it was Roach Brothers or Sudbury Farm.
Sudbury Farm.
Okay, thank you. We don't have a process to basically reassure Sudbury Farm that there isn't going to be any sort of consequence, right, from the town in reaching out to them.
Tina, we lost you. We can't hear your audio.
Can you guys hear me?
Now, yes.
Yeah, thanks. Don't put them, Riley, don't put those in. Kid with their AirPods. So she was saying that, for example, if Anna was looking for, and I don't know because we haven't followed up with Anna because I wanted to make sure that we had, we were following protocol. If, for example, Anna was looking for some sort of conversation with Sudbury Farm, or talk to the folks that with whom she had the encounter, Katie's suggestion was have Anna approach them on her own versus having somebody from HRC or basically a town representative approach Sudbury Farm. And then maybe a member of HRC could accompany her to her meeting if they were responsive to that. So it was really more of an initiative on coming from her versus coming from us. I mean, I understand that it's a subtle difference, but I do understand why that makes sense, given we really do not have a plan put in place yet, right? So that's sort of where we are right now. I'm not really sure how much more we can do until we talk to Anna and see exactly what she's hoping to accomplish or what she's looking for.
So I think Renaz was supposed to talk to Anna.
Yeah, but I think the way that it ended was, I'm not sure if she was going to talk to her after I found out whether or not it was, we could sort of continue the conversation. And so I wasn't able to touch base with Katie until yesterday about this. So I am going to have Renaz reach out to her now that sort of the path is clear, but I'm not really sure, again, given we don't have really a policy put in place that we can follow protocol, how much more we can, follow through. Does anybody have any questions, concerns, comments? A bunch of us were in that meeting.
Yeah, I just think
subcommittee call.
I think it's a shame because it's just another, we don't have any clout now. I understand because we don't have a process, but if people know that she came to us and we weren't able to do anything, are they going to want to come to us when we actually have a process in place? I don't know if there's any interim steps so that we don't look like we have mud on our face. I thought that was very brave of her and really great that she came to us. So I don't know that, I'm just telling you how I feel. I don't know that there's anything more that we can do. I think that she deserves at least a letter stating this, and that maybe once we have a process in place, if she wants to come back to us, we would be happy to try to assist her in whatever way that we can at that time. I don't know. It just doesn't feel good to me. I don't know if anybody else has better advice.
Amelia.
I feel the same way. I wonder, I like the idea of someone accompanying Anna if she agrees to that. So at least we're supporting her in some way. And maybe we might present it to her as if we're really concerned about this. And maybe we're looking at this as a case, you know, as a trial run, although we have limited limitations, but just to let her know that we are sincere and this is not something we're just tossing out because we can't do anything about it at this time. And I think we need to get back to Anna as soon as it's possible, you know, once we have an idea what we're going to say to her. But I think it's really critical. It's been a long time, 2 months, right? Since she came to us.
Yeah, September. Lisa?
Knowing that we have the training this weekend, and I know that's related to potentially getting a process in place, is there any expectation of a timeline in which we might, I know that's a lofty ask, but does that move us in any different direction given that the training's this weekend? No.
I don't think so.
Okay. Hi.
It could be approved from the select board. That's, you know.
So Katie and I have just finished this direct, you know, we've been working together to try to put everything on paper so it's very succinct so that we can look at sort of the path, right? So that's a draft is finalized. Marlene, I'm going to send that to you tonight after we wrap up here. Once Marlene and I finish the final edits, we will send it to you guys. And then in December, we will decide whether or not everybody is comfortable with what we've come up with. I know there have been concerns about additional training. Cynthia, you have mentioned concerns about legal training. Katie is currently putting together training for us with town council. So Chris Heap, she's going to reach out to Chief Schlittler, and I would assume that Belinda would be involved just because, excuse me, she's on this committee. Things like what defines a hate crime, things to look for, and sort of a know your rights training. You know,
Great.
A basic overview of anti-discrimination laws in Massachusetts. So I think between the training that we're going to get on Saturday and the legal, getting our perspective from the legal side of things from both town council, Katie King, and the police department, you know, we will at least have that a pretty, in my mind, a solid knowledge base to go forward. And then we can hopefully finalize this and hash it out, and Marlene and I can present in January.
Thanks
Cynthia.
for that update.
Cynthia?
Yeah, I think that sounds great. That sounds really like the other part that we need. I wanted to come back to what Amelia said, and I think other people had said too about it's not just the mud in your face thing. I think that to take Anna seriously, that we're limited in what we can do, but to find something that we can do. And when Renaz talks with her, if she says about, and I'm fairly sure she would based on what I've heard, that she feels like she hasn't gotten a response from Sudbury Farm that she would like to get. I know she's been in touch. She's told us she's been in touch with them and that they've replied in a way that was not very satisfying. But I think that is something within the context of what Tina said that we could do. We could stand with her while she goes back to them, which is different than making a big statement saying, oh, they did you wrong and so forth and so on. But but the act of saying we validate we see your concern, work, and that we are going to stand with you as you go back through it. And she may get no different reaction than she did before, which then I guess we'd have to figure out what to do. But I think as a next step, that really is something that we can do that's different than just hearing somebody, oh, we heard you. Yeah, okay. So she told everybody and all her friends, but we're the Human Rights Committee. We ought to be able to do at least one more step. And I think that's a really valuable kind of thing, and that it's within the framework so far of what I understand you heard from Katie.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any comments, questions, or concerns? Amelia?
I would suggest that Renaz review the recording before just to get an idea of the different perspectives that we've touched upon before she reaches out to Anna, if she's the one that will do that.
Okay. Anything else? I know it's frustrating, you guys. I do. I understand that, but there is some progress being made. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments? Okay, so I will touch base with Renaz. I will make sure that I will have a conversation with her, and also make sure she watches particularly this portion of our meeting. Maybe she and I can reach out to Anna together, and then I will let you guys know, depending on what she says, then we'll figure out next steps. Sound good?
Yeah.
Okay, so since we're talking about this, so we don't have to kind of keep flipping back and forth. Marlene, do you just want to give a quick overview about Saturday and sort of what Leora needs from us, timing and all of that?
Yeah. We're having two facilitators on Saturday. We will be meeting in the Great Plain Room, which is downstairs in Town Hall. The training itself is scheduled from 9 to 12. I'm going to get bagels, so we're asking for people to come at 8:45 so that we can start right at 9. As you know, the Common is being renovated, so there's no parking in front of Town Hall, and you need to go in the glass doors on either Chapel Street or Highland Avenue. And if you want to feel safe about where you're parking and not have to, we don't have free parking yet till after Thanksgiving. You can park in the Chapel Street lot. So initially, when people said they could come, and when we picked this date, I had heard from everybody, but not Finn or Emmy. So I don't know if you guys are coming on. We would love to have you there on Saturday. I don't know if you're coming. You can't. Finn's saying no, he can't come. So we're not going to have coffee, by the way. So bring your own coffee or water or whatever you want. But we will have bagels, and I think it's going to be. I think it'll be good. I think she took all the feedback that those of you who completed 7 people completed the questionnaire, and she also sent a separate questionnaire that Tina and I completed for more information about what we're going through. So the town, is supporting this by paying for this training. So I'm looking forward to it. And I know there was a question, Cynthia wanted to know about masking. So what I think to make, I guess we can't mandate it, but I would recommend that people mask so that everyone can be comfortable. I know the NDI required masking, but they're not a town entity, so.
Exactly, and we could only require it when we made it clear that we were meeting in the school, but it wasn't a school event because town groups like the schools cannot require it.
Right. So we aren't requiring it either, but so that everyone is comfortable. And I told Leora that that's probably what we would do. So I told her that Katie will be coming, by the way, also. And so if there are any questions, or I told her we were meeting tonight, if there's anything else you would like me to ask her or tell her, or any other questions you have that I may or may not be able to answer. Yeah, Bud.
I don't know if you were on the call when I mentioned that someone was coming in from England literally for the day on Saturday, and I may have a conflict, but I'm wondering, would we be able to record it for those of us if we're not able to make it to at least?
No, it's going to be interactive. I don't think it's not something that we were, planning to record.
Okay, well, I will see what I can do to get there at least. Would it be a problem if I came just for part of it, or? You can be honest.
I mean, I don't know. I think it's pretty important to be there for the whole thing. It's 9 to 12, so you could leave right, when it's over and have the rest of the day with your friend or whatever. But obviously that's your decision. You have to decide, things come up for people. Are there any other questions? Yeah, Tina.
Did she, I don't know, I may have missed it. Did she send an agenda?
She did not, but I think what she's going to do, because I asked her what she needed in terms of audio visual, and she said she usually has handouts.
Okay.
What she did, I mean, I have her, I'll be introducing her formally because I have her bio and I have her, her co-facilitator, who, I don't know if anybody knows her, I'll tell you, her name is Hillary Turkowitz. I don't know if anybody knows her. So that's the co-facilitator.
Okay.
So we really want to start it on time so we can be out on time because it's a Saturday. And so if at all possible, please come a little early.
Does anybody else have any other questions or comments from Marlene? If you do have, if there's something just kind of comes to my, either get in touch with Marlene tonight or me tonight, or, the latest tomorrow morning, just so we can pass it on to Leora, since we're getting this thing going Saturday morning. I think it's going to be really good. I mean, I'm excited about it. And the questions that she sent to me and Marlene, we had to put some thought into it, and it really sort of helped us figure out more, vet this process a little bit more in our heads so that we can be effective in this work. So I think it's going to be, and the fact that she really took the time to analyze the answers, the responses that she got from us, and truly tailor it to what she saw as our needs and expectations and goals for the discrimination complaint process is also, it's not just this cookie cutter training. She asked for those surveys for a reason. So I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I think it will be too. She's excellent. And
you've worked with her in the past.
Yes. Yeah. We had her at my neighbor's table. So she's facilitated for us. So we know her. That's how I went to her in the first place. And she does really want it to meet our needs. We don't exactly know what our needs are because we haven't really started this yet. So is it going to be perfect? No. So don't expect perfection, but I really think it's going to give us a really, make us much more comfortable as we move forward with the process and answer questions that we have. And we may decide that we need another training at another point once we get the process going. There are other things that we can do, but she's been so responsive and helpful. So I think, and she's a really nice person. So I think you're going to enjoy her.
Great. Thank you, Marlene, for all the care you've given to listening to people, including people who were curmudgeon-y about it too along the way.
You were curmudgeon-y about it. You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, great. Awesome. Thank you, Marlene. I appreciate that. Let us move on to, okay, Cynthia, I know we need to confirm this. The Transgender Day of Remembrance Memorial Vigil sponsorship. We sponsored in the past, but Cynthia, we need to take a formal vote just to
Right.
formalize it. Cynthia, do you want to talk about this?
Just to, not everybody may be aware of it, just so that you know that for a number of years, we've had the Trans Day of Remembrance Memorial Vigil in Needham, and it's part of the national observance that actually started in this area. And this year it's going to be in person, outdoors at First Parish in downtown Needham there at 4 o'clock. And it will eventually get dark while we're there, so that it will work to have candles lit when we're remembering all the people who were killed in hate crimes, trans and gender nonconforming people, because of who they are. And it's really sad, but it's also a time to affirm the beauty and strength of all the people in our community who are, we often have people who are part of the trans or gay community come, but for all of us, I found it very moving. And to have, not all of the clergy association members are there, but it has often meant a lot to people to see religious leaders standing in the direction of supporting and including people. And I found that very moving. And so in sponsoring it, it's saying that Human Rights Committee is one of the groups that feels strongly about this. And also, I'm hoping that some of you can be there in person. So I hope you support it.
I just want to say this is the 5th year. I think I've gone every single year. And I think it's really important. And I'm wondering why we have to vote on it every time. And if we can do something like with MLK Day or things that we typically support, if we all decide that we want to continue to support it, if we can just say we're a supporter in general.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to be honest, I already gave her the okay to go on.
I passed it on.
Great. Okay,
Yeah,
so
we're gonna do it. But I just wanted to, in case the powers that be come down on me with fire and brimstone, I just want to make sure I have all of my bases covered.
I mean, I can make a motion that we are continue and will continue to support the Transgender Day of Remembrance.
Okay, can I get a second for that, you guys?
Second.
And Lisa?
Cynthia?
Yes.
Amelia?
Yes.
Lisa?
Yes.
Jen?
Yes.
Marlene?
Yes.
Carrie?
Yes.
Bud?
Yes.
Ben?
Yes.
Emmy?
Yes.
Am I missing anybody? I am a yes. Okay,
So
so
if anybody wants to get more involved in terms of participating, or we can always make room for another person. So let me know. Thank you.
There is also, I just want to mention this, but there is also a Trans Day of Celebration, which is another time. So it's not all about the people who died, but there is a Trans Day of Celebration too, which is kind of a nice, yin and yang. I just thought I would mention
That might be in Pride Month in June.
I can't remember, but I always go to some stuff on Zoom that's related to that.
So if anybody runs across it, bring it up so we can share it out.
Okay,
that's great.
I will.
okay, thank you. Let's talk about the Diversity Summit. Yay. It was great. I thought it was great. It was nice to see a lot of faces there. It was fun to present. Amelia, do you want to just give us a recap, thoughts?
Yes, I will.
Observations?
with Cynthia also, we were on
Yeah.
the committee and we're on the board, NDI board. We were quite apprehensive about having the in-person after all these years. And we were very happy with the outcome. The timing, everything worked out. Technology, was a lot of work behind the scenes on everyone's part, including the presenters. But it was a successful day and we got a lot of positive feedback. And I want to thank Jen and Carrie and Tina for representing the Human Rights Committee at the Critical Race Theory, which were one of the best attended sessions that day. And thank you very much for all your work on a very important topic. But I think what was lacking, and Cynthia can comment too, but what I felt was missing was the human interaction, you know, sitting across the table for someone eating lunch together. Or we had a little taste of that after the events were finished. We went outdoors, we had a table set outdoors and everyone took their mask off but then we could interact naturally and connect. And there was a lot of bonding, revisiting with people we hadn't seen in a long time. And that was missing, but the attendance, I think, was close to 100. Is that right? I couldn't find my notes, Cynthia.
Yeah, 90 in person and around 70 on Zoom.
So that was pretty good it was hybrid. So we weren't sure how that would work. But I have a feeling that more people will come in person. Everyone wore a mask. And by the way, I don't know if we required it, but we had a sign saying, please be sensitive toward the needs of other people who need to wear a mask. Everyone wore a mask except for 2 people out of the 90 people that were present. They just, and one person put it in his lap and never put it back on, but everyone else did. And it was, I think, very respectful as well. Cynthia, what were your thoughts?
I really like the way you characterize that. One of the things I felt was most powerful, and when we were planning, I advocated for it, is we had a panel of high school young people, and I don't know if either Emmy or Finn, if you were able to be there, but Jesse and Ray were the moderators for a panel of young people, most of whom were leaders of groups like Asian Student Union, or I don't remember what all the groups were, but I thought it was fabulous. And I thought the way they did the moderating was incredible. So ask everybody a question, and then from one of the responses, there would be another thing that came up, and they would go with that to ask people based on that question. And it was so, I think it really was a gift to us to hear that. The other thing is the speaker, Chad Williams, who's actually from Needham, I think got right down to some of the important points about the challenges that we need to get uncomfortable to work on to make a change in how racism and prejudice is so much a part of our lives and our institutions. But it was wonderful to have the Human Rights Committee represented in such an excellent seminar, and kudos to you that you got the superintendent to be part of that. My husband enjoyed that part of learning. That was, you learn about critical race theory, but then to also know some of the things that are happening in the school system was a beautiful way to do it.
Marlene?
I just wanted to say that I thought the keynote speaker and the student panel were the best I've ever seen, and I've been at almost every single one of the summits. I thought it was outstanding, and you're right, the facilitation by Jesse and Ray was unbelievable for teens. And then I also went to their breakout session, and they were just as fantastic there. So kudos to NDI for a really, I think, a really well done summit.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have any other comments or questions? Any other folks that attended that have any feedback?
I went on Zoom and I thought Chad was amazing. He was.
Yeah, he's great. He facilitated the workshops on policing. All of them, right, Jen? Was he present at all of them?
I think he was.
Yeah.
And I've heard some good feedback from the one breakout session that was virtual, and we were trying to find a way to involve people who couldn't be there in person, but we couldn't do them all hybrid. So we just chose one, and Katie and Gloria were willing to do that. I don't know, but I don't want to put you on the spot, but whether you got a chance to go to that breakout session on facing history in our town.
I wasn't able to.
Yeah. Renaz was at it, and for some people it's brand new. And the way I was there, because I was like host or whatever, and the way they've done this presentation before, but the way they work it out and they go back and forth between the two of them, and it's an experiential thing of their having uncovered things and then learning more about the town and then getting into questions that come up when you become aware of it. So it was not hard, it was not easy to do, but I'm glad that we at least had that to offer people who were there virtually.
I asked briefly if any of you have any suggestions for things we could do better or recommendations for the next summit. Could you let Cynthia or I know, and we'll bring that to the next meeting, NDI meeting.
Any other final thoughts or comments? Okay, thanks. It was great. Thank you for letting us contribute. And I thought our session was fantastic. We probably could have gone on for quite a bit longer. So actually Jen had made the comment, it sort of maybe was the tip of the iceberg as far as CRT is concerned. And that might be a conversation we want to continue down the road.
Mm-hmm.
It would be great. I feel like that the information that Dr. Gukant shared would be something that a lot of folks in the town might be really interested in hearing. And it would have been, of course, we always say we never have enough time, but it would have been nice to be able to have time to ask him questions about it and kind of take it in a little bit more. But it was a good teaser.
Let's put a star by that to come back to it.
Okay, thanks. The multicultural, I don't really have, Renaz and I just touched base briefly on it. We're moving full steam ahead. She's really done an unbelievable job of coordinating, pulling people in. We have the space secured. We had to change the date because of a holiday. And I believe that was approved.
So what's the date now?
I'll let you guys know.
You mean it's not March 26th anymore?
It was either moved up a week or back because of a holiday. I'm sorry, I don't have this. I will email you guys. Fine. I'll let you know.
Sorry, I just hadn't heard that, and she was talking.
Yeah, we had to
like 2 nights ago
finalize that with town just to make sure that it was actually available, the new date, and I just got word that it was. So I'll let you guys know.
She's done an amazing job running the meetings. She really has.
It's true. I feel like it's truly a community effort. So, but do you know when the next meeting is?
It's Monday.
It's Monday.
This coming Monday, 6:30.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other comments or feedback, just because I haven't been as involved with this planning process? Amelia?
Bud and Marlene and I have been on the planning committee, and I'm just amazed at the people that she has gathered together to serve on this committee. And they're not parts of Equal Justice Needham or NDI. They're people really coming from the community, from various cultural backgrounds.
Exactly.
And they're so excited, and it's a wonderful way to connect them to those of us who can embrace them and bring them into our groups. In fact, I know already of one person on this planning committee that is interested in Human Rights Committee down the road. So I think this is something we can give Renaz credit for. She is so connected and so admired by so many people in the community. But this planning committee is incredible. There's a woman from Ukraine. There are several women from the Indian. What are some of the others? Bud, do you remember? I can't remember, but people that I had never met before that are really actively engaged, and they're really bringing a lot of wonderful ideas to the planning. I think this is going to be a major event and the beginning of an annual festival.
Great. Does anybody else have any other questions or comments or things that we can bring back to Renaz at this point? Okay, so I will let you guys know what the new date is. Discrimination complaint process we went through. Okay, the Juneteenth Planning Committee, the select board in their last meeting, 2 meetings ago, approved an official Juneteenth Planning Committee, which is fantastic because the work that we've done on it the past 2 years has been really hard. Just in terms of research and coordinating and trying to keep it interesting, and getting various parties involved, not just us, but the outreach we've done to other organizations, getting the library involved. So I think this is going to be a great way to expand our efforts and really make it more of a town-wide community event, because now there's a lot more sort of gusto behind it. I am on the committee. They are looking for 5 community members to join. I believe something went out in a newsletter a couple of weeks ago as far as applications are concerned. I don't know where we are in that stage of the process, because this was truly just announced. It was sort of a surprise to me as well. So once I get more information and figure out sort of next steps and what this process is going to look like, I will let you guys know. It's actually going to be staffed by Miles and one other person in town hall. So they're putting a lot of effort behind this, which I think is great. Obviously, if you have ideas or things you want to see, those are things that we can talk about here. It doesn't just have to be the group of 7 of us or whoever is going to be on this formal committee. I feel like the more ideas that we have, the better. And since we've already been so involved in planning for Juneteenth over the past couple of years, the entire committee's perspective, I think, is important and valid, and just sort of seeing the work that we've done was the impetus for this. So just because there's a separate committee does not mean that I'm not going to continue to ask for input and help and suggestions. So as soon as I get more information, I will keep you guys posted, but it's never too early to start thinking about ideas. Bud?
Can we replicate some of the things we did last year? Because I thought, they were amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, it doesn't have to be, oh, Cindy, is that you?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I put something in the newsletter again today about it. The deadline for applications is actually Tuesday.
Okay.
So as of today, we still didn't have any other members, so they are still looking for a full complement of members.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
One person who's thinking about it from the Memorial Committee, who would be terrific if he has time.
Yes, you and I had emailed me about that. Yeah, you and I had emailed about that. If there are other people that, you know, in your networks, please let them know, so that we can start formulating some broader range ideas. But I think we should continue to do what we do, but let's just see what happens with this committee. Like I said, I don't really know anything yet because we haven't met. But I'll keep you guys posted. Any questions or comments or anything that you want me to take back to Miles? Okay. MLK Day program. I don't remember who submitted this agenda item.
I might have, but Amelia and I are both involved from NDI. This is another one of the programs that Human Rights Committee is working with NDI and other groups over the years. And by the way, it's January 16th.
Okay.
I may have sent the wrong date.
I also could have mistyped.
It's also, you know, 1 year to another. I was at the planning meeting last night. I think it was last night. It's every night is something. So that it's, we can't really say the various people who are doing things because they're still in the process of getting, lining up musicians and speakers and trying to get young people involved. And fortunately, Jesse and Ray are both board members so that we can say to them, hey, can you talk to people like in the Black Student Union, see if there's a way they'd like to be involved. And so we have a connection through them to the high school. And if Finn or Emmy know people in the high school who you think would like to be involved in the MLK Day program, or like any music groups, we're in the process of still at this point of figuring out who to reach out to.
So one of your questions, Cynthia, was in the email that you sent to me.
Yeah.
Do we want to contribute other than sponsorship? Did you have any ideas, or is that?
Well, and I can turn to Amelia too, because we both have had 11 years or so, a long time of being involved with it. And it is going to be 10 to, well, I wrote noon. It's really 10 to 11:30. And last time we ended up going longer and probably start at 9:30 with coffee and prepackaged treats. We're all in that place. So Amelia, what do you think? I just always like to bring that up and not assume that people don't have anything.
And it will be at the high school?
Yes, it'll be at the high school. And we hope that all will be well, that people can walk through the door. And we're going to do the, we ask people to mask out of concern for the vulnerable in our population, in our community.
I missed the meeting last night, so, but it's they make progress at every meeting. We just finished the diversity summit, and then a few days later, we're on the MLK Day. But we have, Raman has wonderful connections with many guest speakers that we've had in the past, musical groups, choirs, and also local.
Yeah. We did get a yes from the Elliott Children's Choir, which is a phenomenal group. So we're really glad. Last year they hadn't been singing in person, so.
And we're at very early stages, so ask us next week and we'll probably have a lot more.
Well, the next meeting is in 2 weeks because Wednesday evening is right before Thanksgiving. So, but you know, the Clergy Association, we'll have one member speak for like 10 minutes or so, and different ones each year.
Okay. If there's anything else you need from us, or if anybody has any ideas about how we can contribute other than sponsorship.
Well, getting out the word, coming yourself. Since we're not doing the kind of food we used to do, hooray. But it was nice when we did it. That required a lot of people to be involved, but it also meant we were there as people were arriving. And that was kind of neat to be able to welcome people. And hopefully we'll have a lot of families come again the way we used to. But thank you all. And Amelia, if you have any other ideas about what people can do.
Yeah, I think just publicizing would be Helen. Thank you, Carrie and Tina. I'm sure you're involved too, posting things so quickly on your Facebook page. It really helps, and you follow up. So that I think that would help a lot.
Yeah. Oh, and we were almost in agreement on a MLK Jr. quote, but there was some problem about it having the word man, which meant humanity, but how to change that. Can you change it while still being respectful of the person's quote? So once they get that worked out, well, the posters will start coming out. Right.
Okay, great. Keep us posted. Thank you. Okay, Cynthia, you sent something out this afternoon about the Memorial for Enslaved and Indigenous Peoples.
Yes, gee, it's a good thing I'm writing the notes here. Just go to my computer. Right. Apologies for sending this out late, but I like to see things when it's not something I'm already familiar with. So several months ago, we started hearing more about this committee, and I said that I was going to it because I got involved to kind of communicate with the chief of the Natick Praying Indians, which is a small group, but they are descendants of people who actually were part of the village that includes lands that we're on. So then we found out from Katie King when we looked at the select board goals for last year that it talked about the Memorial Committee, and somehow the Human Rights Committee should be involved with it, and hadn't really known about that. So I thought, well, since I'm already there, I'll be glad to kind of communicate. But that they would love to have other people from the Human Rights Committee. So if anybody else is interested in this, they usually meet the first Monday of the month. So what we heard from Katie King is that instead of the Memorial Committee necessarily going straight to the town, that they could come with, when they had suggested actions, bring them to the Human Rights Committee, and that we would be one more group to help think it through, to make it better, to hold it, to support it, all those kinds of things. Not as here's the next wall you have to jump over, but more an invitation for us to support the work because it is, I think, fits with the goals of the Human Rights Committee. So the last meeting, they said, okay, here's the 3 actions we'd like you to bring to the Human Rights Committee. And it turns out that a person who's been attending is Kevin Keene, who is a select board member, who doesn't have to go through the Human Rights Committee. He can go right to the select board. And last summer, when they were redoing their goals, he got this idea that he'd had on the list. So that's the first thing I want to share with people. On the other hand, they do care about what the Human Rights Committee thinks. We don't have to approve it for it to become something that the select board is interested in doing, but I wanted you to at least know about it. So the idea is to do some things that are probably not that difficult to do, but help people to begin to be more aware of the connection with enslaved people and indigenous people in our past. And that's not the end place, but that's part of the goal. So the first one is to rename Hemlock Gorge. People know Hemlock Gorge? Over by, if you can find it, on right next to the bridge that goes over to Newton there on Central Ave, to rename it to the Nahoiden's Grant. Now that was one of the last pieces of land that Nahoiden, which was his English name, his Algonquin name was Nahantan, held, and many native peoples sold their land. Sometimes they had no choice because they were impoverished, but there were a lot of reasons that people sold their land. But at least one way, you're not giving it back to descendants. That might be cool, but I'm not. But in the meantime, how to acknowledge it and to rename it would be one way to do it. So it is Needham Select Board goal approved on September 27th with all of their goals. 4.2, explore the option of petitioning to rename Hemlock Gorge to Nahoiden Grant. And it would, since the land is currently owned by the state as DCR, Department of Conservation and Recreation, then they have to make a proposal to the state to change the name. And I have no idea what that process is like. But so that's the first one, and kind of to see what people think about that.
So the select board, they are going to go ahead with that process, or they're trying to decide whether or not they want to move ahead with that process?
Yeah, they approved it as a goal last summer. I'd heard about Kevin Keene earlier, but I didn't know until I guess it was September, one of the meetings this fall, that the select board had taken it on. Just like I didn't know about the Juneteenth thing until I saw it come out in the town newsletter, because I hadn't read the new goals. And they're incredible. Includes like looking into hiring a DEI person for the town, all kinds of stuff that I had no idea was in there. It's like a new day. So I asked Katie if we get a copy of that to send out to the Human Rights Committee. So hopefully you can all see the things that are happening.
Do you know where the name, who suggested that name? Was that actually vetted by Indigenous people or approved by an Indigenous group that either that was previous their land or
Chief Carringham? She thought that sounded great. I printed out what Gloria Grease, who's the executive director of the Needham Center History and Museum, Needham Center, anyway, History and Museum Center, and she's our like town historian. She's written things up about Nahoiden and about Hemlock Gorge, and I sent her what he'd written up about Nahoiden, and she said, that's right. Or, that fits with their oral tradition and everything, she said. And so when I said, what about changing it? She said, that would be great. I mean, anything that helps to make people aware of whose land this is. And that indeed was, in general, there's all of the indigenous people who are here for thousands of years. But that most recently, that was like the last piece of land that was sold to people in Needham. But that's a really good question to ask with any of these things. And that's why as soon as I heard about it, I asked her.
Does anybody have any comments or questions for Cynthia about this? No. Okay. So does the select board or does Kevin just want some feedback from us as to how we feel about the proposal?
I think so, because if it turned out that this group said that's a waste of time, or you should be doing this or that about it, something that would mean a lot to them, to know what the Human Rights Committee thinks about things.
Marlene?
Well, then I can just say that I am totally in support of it. I think it's a great idea. I'm glad that that the name change is being seriously considered. And it sounds like it was a thoughtful process and how they came up with it. So I, for one, think it's great.
Thank you.
Any other comments or feedback? Amelia?
No, I'm very much in support of that. It's about time. And I like the idea of maybe checking or getting approval of Indigenous people. It's just to be sure. And I don't know who to recommend. Cynthia, you mentioned you had a contact.
Oh yeah, Chief Carringhands, and Nahoyden was he was a praying Indian. He was part of that group that supported Elliot, and he wasn't carted off to Deer Island when the others were taken there because he was useful to the English, but he went with John Elliot by boat to try to bring food and blankets to them as they were starving and perishing. And then, of course, the colonials dumped them into the harbor. But he was very much part of the praying Indians.
Bud, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Amelia and Marlene said. So I don't want to reiterate the same thing.
Great. So I think we're all in agreement that we're supportive of it. If you want to go back to Kevin or the rest of the board, just let them know. The question was raised about we just want to make sure that the legitimacy of the naming is spot on. That was really the only. We want to make sure we're really doing the right thing.
And this is where Gloria Grease, as the town historian, that she wrote a whole lot about Nahoyden Nahantan and his life. I send it to Chief Carringhands, who's never met her, and she says that's exactly what we hear as the oral tradition. So she's done it from the town historical records, and somebody else is coming from the tribal thing. So we rarely get that much. But it's an important process.
Marlene?
So it sounds to me like it's already been vetted, which is great. But Cynthia, also I think that you should take back to the committee our appreciation for all the work that they're doing.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so keep us posted, because it sounds like it's not a done deal. They have to go through.
Right. And then what do you do from there? Do you create some new trails? Then there's the people on the Newton side who have the Friends of Hemlock Gorge, and it used to be an amusement park and all kinds of things there. And how would they feel about that? And that is an additional name, and they keep their name, But it's when you have an idea and you want to take some action. So that's, I think, part of, you don't want to just take any action, but take some meaningful action. And I will send back to them or take back to them appreciation. Okay, before people get too tired, the second one is really a proposal that comes from the work that Dr. Gloria Grease and Reverend Katie Scudera have done about learning more about the history of enslaved people in Needham. And at their breakout session, as they went along with, and it's a long process. It will continue on trying to uncover names of people. It was a history people did not want to remember or acknowledge that there were people who were enslaved, and to try to find out the birth, the life, the death of these folks is very hard. So it's actually comes from the two of them and their work that at least could you have a marker in the Needham Cemetery to remember those we have names for and those we don't. And he said there's a section of the cemetery that has no headstones or markers that they think would be a good place to have that. So this isn't as far along in development, but they wanted to let people know that this is one of the things that's happening. And they think they're fairly sure if people died in Needham back a certain number of years ago, that was the only cemetery, and that's where they would have been buried.
So where are they in the process right now of, aside from the researching, making sure, trying to get as many names and records as possible? Have they approached anybody about those markers at the cemetery?
I don't know whether Gloria has approached anyone, but since I'm coming to the Human Rights Committee with what they're thinking about doing to see what people here thought about the idea. So along the way, and if people had like thoughts, questions, and all that they could hear as they're going through that process of getting to next steps.
Does anybody have any feedback for Cynthia about that?
They also thought about having, if you're going to have decorations on artistic things, trying to find a way to involve the community or maybe young people in the decoration of the marker. So I can just say that we let you know, and that we can get back to you when there's more specific actions happening.
Yeah. And if there's anything else they need from us, if there's anything that we can try to do to help out,
okay,
just let us know.
Thank you. So the last one should be a lot faster, and that's renaming the Needham Nike site. People are figuring that's Nike site that's what it was called when it was an installation from 1953 to 1963. And a lot of you probably know where it is. There's the wonderful Needham Community Garden and one of the dog parks in town. And I think it looks like the town uses it for different highway type things. And it's off Pine Street, not far from Ridge Hill. So the idea was, it's not really a great name, that maybe this is a piece of land that might be possible as they're doing the research and uncovering names of people and learning about their lives who were enslaved in Needham, that perhaps it would be good to name that site after one of those people. There isn't a particular proposal yet, just the general idea. And as we went looking into that, in case it was kind of like, oh my goodness, you look into it, the Nike site off Pine Street was where the missiles were. The controls place was up around where Muzzy Ford site was. And then, and perhaps lots of you know about this, the East Militia Heights, which is sort of behind North Hill, housing was created for military staff who were people of color because they could not find a place to live in Needham. Nobody would rent to them. 1950s. That's a little more recent history. Any thoughts about this idea of the renaming that area?
Marlene?
I think it's a great idea. I think the more we can do, the better. But I think what's important in any of these things is that if they get renamed, that a plaque goes up with an explanation so that it's not just a renaming. So that as people visit these areas, they know why it's called what it is, and that there be, I don't know, funds for upkeep of those kinds of things. I've been to lots of things where you can no longer read signs. I'm not talking about in Needham, you know, and you want to know what this was. And I'm always one of these people that reads all the history of all that. So I just think, you know, if there's a place in the cemetery, or if there's this place on the former Nike site, or the where the gorge is now, that there be, you know, really some significant posting or signage that that honors the way that we're trying to honor the Native peoples, that that honors them and their heritage,
and also educates the public as to why it was done.
Right.
So consciousness awareness is one of the main reasons for changing the names, and then how to have it be permanent or have it last in a way that people could be involved. And that the Memorial Committee has long been thinking about developing a trail, like a lot of places have trails. And I think there's a trail or tour that the History Center has in town, but this would be a different one. And they've already, I think, starting to think about places. There are a lot of places in Needham that have significance in terms of indigenous peoples. I don't know so much about enslaved people. I will definitely pass that on. Thanks.
Any other comments or questions for Cynthia?
I just echo what's been said. I think it's great. So thank you.
Thank you for letting me
that, Cynthia. Keep us posted. And again,
if
anyone needs additional support, just let us know.
Thank you.
And keep us posted on where we're at. Okay.
Tina, I'm sorry. I have to drop off soon. I have to deal with the house. So I just want to say I'm signing off. Is that all right?
Yeah, go. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, everyone.
See ya.
Thanks.
It is almost 9 o'clock. I believe Nate attended the meeting in September.
Yeah.
But he's not here. So maybe he can give us a recap next month, or has anybody attended? Did he attend September or October, Cindy? Do you remember?
September. And they changed the October one because the November one.
Right.
Because it was Veterans Day, so that it's tomorrow. If anybody feels like going. I don't know if we were having people signed up. I signed up for February. It's absolutely fascinating. I didn't know it was 2 hours, so I was only there for an hour and a half. And since we're getting all their stuff, I jumped in on land acknowledgement things, and they had that as something they talked about. And I'm not ready to share any of that here, but it's in the minutes they sent out too. And Nate had to drop out before I did, so, but I know he was there. So he might want to report something from it. So who's doing it for November? Do we know? Because that's tomorrow. Or
I don't think we have
Marlene,
a
do you know
November.
if people signed up for the?
Yeah, do you have the list, Tina?
I will, I sent, it's been a while since I looked at it. I'll resend it. At least I can send out who signed up
Okay.
for what, if anybody,
Because I think I need to change. I think I signed up for December and I don't think I can do it. So if you
Okay.
send it out, then I'll see if there's somebody who'll swap with me.
There are
Okay.
just lots and lots of great ideas from different groups about how you can reach out to the community, about kinds of collaborations, about kinds of programs. I know Marlene has always told us it was great. I go, I can't do another group. But because they were doing land acknowledgements, found out a lot of them had decided not to do it, not because you don't want to repair things, but because it wasn't clear which tribe was what, and how do you deal with that? There are disagreements between tribes over whose land it is, which we have around here too. It's everywhere because that's the nature of, yeah.
I will resend
Thank you.
to everybody. Cynthia, do you just want to quickly touch on the Thanksgiving service?
Yeah, I think I had written that it's virtual and they will be getting more things out. The recording will be available actually Wednesday rather than going out on Thursday. And somehow or other, I worked with Amelia and Alicia on doing the land acknowledgement for the diversity initiative. And I've reworked it with some people, Quakers, and one of the ministers on the clergy group. So I'm going to read that for the service and for the Trans Day of Remembrance. And it's a process, and it's more what you feel, what you will take from it about what you're going to do that's important. We could just say this was indigenous land and they remained, and here we are, and acknowledge all the things that harms that have happened and continue to happen, and what are we going to do? So the memorial committee is one way we're involved.
Jen, did you want to talk about the Needham Connects?
Oh yeah, that's important.
Only to say an ask that maybe everybody bring to the December meeting an idea for a book that you think might be good for us, and we can maybe spend a couple minutes talking about it. Marlene, did you have something?
Yeah, I just read Horse by Geraldine Brooks, which is amazing. She's a really good author, and it is about slavery in the South and how the slaves worked with horses and the horse race sport business. It's really something else. So I don't know if anybody else has heard about it. It's a new book, and it's I thought it was amazing, and it's based on historical. I mean, there's some fiction in it, but it's based on historical facts. So you might want to just take a look at that. It's Geraldine Brooks, and it's called Horse.
Nice. Thanks, Marlene. The other idea that I was thinking about was Trevor Noah's book, Born a Crime, just because the high school did that book this year, and maybe that would be a way to connect with the high school students too. But we can talk more about that next month. And I just wanted to do a quick pitch of an idea that maybe we could talk about again in December. And that is, I don't know if you all heard today, but a court struck down, I'm totally blanking on the name of it. It's a particular rule that was put into place during the Trump administration and COVID to prevent people from crossing over the border. And that was struck down. So they're anticipating that there's going to be even more people crossing the border soon. And I wonder if maybe sometime in the spring, we want to do some kind of program for the community to talk about applying for asylum as a human right, because I think that there's a lot of misconceptions from people about kind of what it means to apply for asylum and what maybe some of the struggles are of people who are coming over the border trying to get asylum. I think it could be an interesting time to talk about it, because I think that while the border crossings have gone up all summer, I think they're anticipating they're going to go up a lot more. I think that the judge told by the Biden administration they had something like 35 days to kind of get their act together and get ready for the restrictions to be lifted. So it's probably going to be coming pretty soon.
Was that remain in Mexico to apply for asylum?
Like Title 42, it was like something that was like that came through during COVID.
Yeah,
where they were trying to prevent people from coming in.
Yeah. What we might want to do if we want to pursue that is invite Jerry Rovner back from the task force, because and Renaz and I are part of that, and that's he has, if anybody wants to get on, he has a like a newsletter thing that keeps people up with what's going on nationally and state, and in the ways you can get involved. Sadly, asylum is very rarely granted, a little more so in this state than other places, but it's really, really hard.
Right.
But what we do, like the busloads of immigrants that have been sent from Texas to various states, that may be happening more here, and at least what maybe our community could be a place to take people, at least temporarily.
I mean, that's a big ask. that's a big undertaking. I'm thinking even something much smaller, just because I think that a lot of people don't really understand the point that you just made about how hard it is to get asylum. And also, I think the reason why, again, we can talk about this next month, but just that it's what our obligations are under international law to let people come and apply. Because I think there's a lot of chatter out there about like why we should be even letting people in to apply. So,
right. You're absolutely right.
And it would be a great thing to partner with the task force. I was just thinking that we're doing so many things of supporting other people's programs that it would be good for us to plan something that was
to do something on the human rights end.
Yeah,
that would certainly be true with Indigenous peoples too. I remember when we got the copies of universal rights, human rights, that we also, I think, had some copies of the rights for Indigenous peoples. You remember that, Amelia? I think somebody had a bunch of those, and that often gets forgotten too.
Anyway, sorry. I know it's 9:09 now.
And we have Human Rights Day on December 10th. I'm not suggesting we do anything, but
we should at least acknowledge it.
Yeah.
We are the Human Rights Committee. Any other? We need a notes taker for the 15th of December, please.
Who was supposed to do it for
nobody signed up for that day. Everybody else, all of the other dates are taken. So if you have not, I am not going to call you out by name, but I know who you are. If you have not signed up for minutes yet, December is the month. We need somebody, please. Particularly for those of you who have not yet signed up. Anything else?
Like anything from the schools? I just see our young people stayed the whole time.
Okay, we have it covered. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Announcements are on the agenda. There's explanations, there's links, so it's all there. There's a lot of stuff we have to do between now and the next meeting, and obviously Saturday I will see most of you. Can I please have a motion to wrap it up?
So moved. I move to adjourn.
I need a second, please.
Second.
Okay, Cynthia.
Yes.
Amelia.
Yes.
Jen,
Yes.
Marlene,
Yes.
Bud,
Yes.
Emmy,
Yes.
Carrie,
Yes.
Finn,
Yes.
and I am a yes. Am I missing anybody? Okay. I'll see most of you guys on Saturday, 8:45-ish.
Right.
Yeah.
You
Thank
did
you.
well with your phone. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.